Everyone to our Temple of Light service. I'm glad you found your way here. Here we are to worship the Lord and to express from the Lord. Stewart Berger will be leading us today. I look forward to that time. I think we all do. And let's begin with a devotion. O Lord of love, we still our hearts and minds, putting aside all that's happening in the world, that we may come into this present moment now, acknowledging Thee, acknowledging our love for one another, acknowledging our substance together, put before Thee. That Thy fire may fall from heaven, and that Thy radiant influence may extend to all the world. Here we are, listening, being meek to Thy word. Letting a moment of silence be present in our hearts and minds, that we may come together now in this place, giving glory to Thee, honoring Thee, and letting Thy word go forth. In the glory of Thy name, Amen. Stewart, ready for you.
Thank you, Steve. That was beautiful. Wonderful to share those moments together, as you mentioned, to allow hearts and minds to be still. And that way we more readily notice the atmosphere that we have between us here, that we are creating in this hour and that we've brought with us in our living. I have some things to say, and hopefully you'll enjoy them, maybe even find them entertaining or correlate with thoughts and feelings you've had, experiences you've had. But beyond the words, what's, I would say, more important for me these days is the experience that we have when we come together, being together and feeling the radiance go out. We've called it unified radiation, but it's something that can be felt, and it's wonderful to allow that power to appear and have its effect. I do want to go back and thank you, David and Robert, for playing the music and your technical expertise. The music we heard, there was Andreas Vollenweider, also Enya, and her song had lyrics that mentioned the sky high above and mentioned some ancient Greek gods of wind. And then finally, we heard a piece by Hildegard von Bingen, the German abbess, composer, and visionary, who also gave talks. She was a preacher, gave sermons, who lived in the 1100s. And It was sung in Latin, entitled O Virtus Sapiente, and the word sapientia means divine wisdom. And I wanted to read the lyrics because I chose the music, but then I found that the words that she wrote were meaningful and beautiful. O wisdom's power, who circling surrounds and encompasses all in one life-giving path. Three wings you have, one of them soars on high. The second exudes its essence from the earth. From my reading of it, I would say like the generation of connective substance. And the third flutters everywhere. Praise to you as befits you, O wisdom. One of my hobbies for many years has been astrology and by extension, astronomy. So I'd like to take you on just a very brief journey from the surface of the earth, taking a minute or two, a journey using our awareness and going out beyond our beautiful planet Earth, our planet home. You may know that Wednesday night we had a new moon, and that happened at 28 degrees Scorpio, and the planet Mercury was in the same place as them in the sky from our vantage point on Earth, with Mercury on our side of the sun. So from Earth's vantage point, in a line were the moon, Mercury, and the sun. You know, we usually say that there are 12 signs in the zodiac, and I'll be mentioning the 12 again later. And now, as of a day or two ago, the sun has moved into the sign of Sagittarius, which is the constellation past which astronomers say is the center of our galaxy. And the line between Earth, the sun, and where astronomers believe that galactic center is located will become most exact around the middle of next month. The stars seem far away, but it's said that most of the stars that we see with the naked eye at night, when conditions are good, are here in our galaxy, on this side of it, in a fairly small region of the galaxy. And if you think about the distance from Earth to the sun, by my calculation, the distance from our sun to the center of our galaxy is about 161 million times that. The Milky Way galaxy moves within what's called the local group, which itself is being drawn toward what's called the Great Attractor, which contains a dense cluster of galaxies. So we're talking big. Meanwhile, spaceship Earth, as well as our solar system and the Milky Way galaxy, are all moving and revolving at very high speeds. And yet, for all that speed, it's a very smooth ride, isn't it? We don't really notice it. So this conveys part of the largeness that we're about, the part of the cosmos we know about, sometimes theorize about. And it's a way to observe cycles like those in our solar system. And coming back to our solar system, I also wanted to mention, as you may know, that Pluto, whose planetary energy has been related to deep transformation experienced by people in astrological terms, Pluto recently entered the sign of Aquarius. And the last time that Pluto was in Aquarius was during the time of the American and French revolutions, starting in 1778. And that was a certain period of upheaval. And it was also the time of the beginning of the United States government. So there's another cycle there. And I thought it was interesting timing that PBS would show at this time its series on the American Revolution, which I enjoyed and maybe you saw some of as well. By the way, if you are interested in astrology, I recommend following Jeff Peters, a friend that some of us know from our days at Glen Ivy years ago. He's a professional astrologer who puts monthly, I should say weekly videos on Facebook and YouTube talking about not only astrology, but how it relates to the social changes that are happening here on Earth at this time. Also, I see that Miss Universe was crowned on Friday. Maybe you heard about that. And perhaps not so amazingly, she was from right here on Earth, Miss Mexico. So, congratulations, Fatima Bosch. In service last month, Larry said that consciousness is fluid. And one of the main things that I've been experiencing at large is that there's a greater loosening up process. And I've noticed this become evident in services that we've had over the last couple months, especially. It's been ongoing, but I've noticed a change myself. I don't know if you have in the last month or two, like we've gone up a notch or something has opened up in a greater way. And related to that, I think, is a softening of heart substance. So I believe the creative process is continuing to have its work. And what we're doing in our individual lives and together is probably also having an effect, especially as we relate to each other so often. And I believe because of this, this loosening up process and softening, I've been noticing when I go through the day doing things that all of a sudden I'll notice what seems to be a clearing and awareness, an opening, aperture, a portal through which it seems the right thing to do to offer a blessing out to whoever may be connected. Maybe somebody needs a blessing and I'm connected to them somewhere. But I've been finding this happening a lot, going through the day several times. It's like it will just happen out of the blue. Maybe you're experiencing some of this too. I'm not engaged as some of you are in regular attunement gatherings, group gatherings, or working with individual people. But attunement is and has always been a deep interest of mine. I used to share attunements with some people and still share radiation with myself. I thought I'd mention something that Yolanda said. I believe it was in one of the early instruction papers that we don't have to share an attunement with every person on Earth. It would be probably hard to do that, but through those that we do share attunement with, that radiance can flow through the connections that they have with others and on from there. In looking for material on the website, The Great Cosmic Story, I just happened to stumble across this piece that was given in 1992, which, as many of us know, was a time of change in the lives of many people associated with the emissary ministry and changes in the ministry itself. But here was a steady word, and this was given by John Gray at Glen Ivy in 1992. He said, "Attunement is not something we just share now and then. It is rightly a constant experience. The world is in need of attunement, the restoration of the awareness of connectedness with all that is. In order for that need to be filled, there must be human beings, you and me, and lots of others, who are letting the word flow through and who revere and sustain the shaping place, the realm of connection that makes this possible. It is not sustained because we are terribly careful. It is sustained because we love it and joy is flowing through us. That is what maintains holiness, joy springing from the source of joy. We permeate the world with joy, and the stuff of which the world is made leaps up happily and obediently to the impulse of spirit and takes shape accordingly. We are creators, endowed with this capability. Let us use it intelligently, gently, joyously, and create the world anew." As I mentioned, I'm not sharing direct attunements right now with any individuals, but earlier this last week, I did share an attunement with a cat. This is I think it's a little boy cat, maybe a year or 2 years old, a neighbor cat that's an indoor-outdoor cat. And I see it now and then, enjoy seeing it. I'm not allowed to have a cat or pets in our apartment complex, so I take the opportunity when I can to spend a few moments with this cat, which usually curls up in the parking lot, and I see it when I go to get in my car sometimes. Anyway, this last week, I saw it laying down there, and when I approached it, it started coughing 8 or 10 times, and it didn't sound like normal coughing. So I decided to share an attunement with it and see if that might help. I didn't know if perhaps it had a cold from the rains we had. We had a lot of rain here in Southern California recently. It's cleared up now. A lot of blue sky today. You know, I wasn't able to pick up the cat's pattern. I don't know if I don't know if you've ever shared an attunement with a cat, but you know, I didn't know quite what quality to look for there. But I offered it anyway for a few minutes, and then after that, actually the cat got up and stretched, and its tail went up, and it walked a little bit, and then laid down again for another little snooze. One moral that I got from this is that even though we might not fully know what impact we have when we engage with another being of whatever species, our presence there and our engagement with them have value and introduce something that wasn't there before and often has benefit. Incidentally, just yesterday I saw the cat again, and it's doing okay. Something else that I have realized is we don't have to grasp everything mentally. And we've known this, but it's come to mind just recently for me, because it seems that there is more change in the heart realm as I perceive it. It's not all about the mind, and we can trust the heart. And I recall something that both Chris Jorgensen and John Gray said in a service about a year ago. And they said, we can let the radiation do the work. And perhaps at some time in the future, it would be fun to talk about radiance and why it is radiant, that power that has its inherent ability to extend itself and bless and renew. One theme that I've been noticing, maybe you have too, is the theme of ascension. Last Sunday, it was mentioned by Jay Young in his service a week ago in Korea, which I was online for and enjoyed that. My first time actually joining with the Korean group. And Ascension was also mentioned by Suzanne in service last Sunday. A month ago, Larry and Maureen gave the service entitled Cycles of Ascension. Chris Jorgensen has a blog post that he wrote earlier this month, and he mentioned the ascension process twice in that piece. And Steve spoke about apex identity and ascent on the mountain a while back. So I'd like to have us listen to a segment of a service from Yolanda talking about ascension and the tree of life and the garden. And this is from 1953. So David or Robert, if you would, please.
To you. What then is ascension? Not leaving the surface of the earth, but moving from the realm of misery and suffering and sorrow and death, moving from the realm of the self-active state to the realm of attunement in and with the continuity of manifestation coming to us from out of the future, from out of the garden that God planted eastward in Eden. And where is eastward? In the future. Our days come out of the east. The sunrise comes in the east. And so, in the days of our tomorrows, the things of God are already provided. But we must learn how to receive them on earth. If we once start receiving them, we may not receive completely all at once, but then the things of God start being around us, and they start extending into the past. What is it that extends into the past with most people? The beauty of the garden of God, or the misery of the hell that man has made on earth? Once you reach a point where that which comes from out of the future, from the garden that God planted eastward in Eden, has come to you, been made manifest in you and through you because you live on earth, so that it surrounds you and begins to move back and extend into the past, where are you then? You are in the midst of the garden of God. But it's the only way you can be when you let it come out of the east, manifest where you are, and extend into the west or into the past. Finally, you are in the midst of the garden that God planted. And what is in the midst? The tree of life. The tree of life is in the midst of the garden. It is to manifest where you are. Where you are. If you think you can go to it by going up or down or sidewise or something else, you're wrong. The tree of life is just as available to you as to any Adam or Eve in the past, before the fall or after. It's at hand. It's available. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The garden that God planted eastward in Eden is at hand, for they are one and the same thing. But we must let them come into manifestation. And when we do that, what do? We ascend out of the old order of things into the new, into the divine estate, but we don't leave the earth's surface. We're living right here, letting God's will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so does His kingdom come. Where from? From out of the east, from out of the future, in a manifestation through those men and women who let His will be done. And it takes form around them, and it begins to extend into the past, and others begin to see, and they aspire to that same ascension. To ascend to the place where there's the evidence of the presence of the one who dwells. That is the mystery unveiled by Enoch, by Moses, by Elijah, and by our Master, who was made manifest through the body of Jesus. And He said, "Follow me. Follow me." That the mystery may be unveiled, that you may begin to know the reality of the cloud of glory. The tabernacle, your own body. The tabernacle filled with the glory of the Lord until it shone round about. Yes, to be true of you. Where? In the wilderness of this world as it is, until the wilderness is caused to blossom as the rose, because the garden of God comes out of the east and is made manifest through those who let His will be done.
Until the wilderness is caused to blossom as the rose. In that same service, Yolanda also described ascension as a matter of change in the vibrational state or level of being. And we've had that experience. There are many ways that we can allow the ascension process to happen. And it happens at different levels in our experience. One way that I have been conscious of, mindful of lately is consuming the food that I eat. Here is material of the earth, vegetable, fruit, mineral, dairy. Some of us eat meat. And it provides us with energy. It renews our bodies. And it can be delicious. And only pennies a serving a lot of the time. But seriously, folks, here is material that comes to us from the earth, and we, from outside our bodies, we take it inside our bodies to use it. And it's transformed into energy and can fill the body with health. So this is something that I have been mindful of. And when I eat, before I start, I give thanks for it, bless it. Many of us probably remember a blessing being given before or during meals in emissary units or in our family homes. Yolanda mentioned the tree of life, which is mentioned in Revelation, and there is a passage in Revelation that I was kind of stuck on, didn't quite understand it for the longest time, but it's making more sense now. So I'd like to read it. And this is John speaking about one of the seven angels, showing him the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. I suppose the part that I got hung up on was where it says, in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life. I found a service of Yolanda's on Great Cosmic Story that had Yolanda talking about this, and in the midst of the street of it relates to the throne of God. So the throne of God is in the midst of the street. And on either side of the river was there the tree of life. And before I wondered, how could a tree be on either side of the river? And I suppose you could say that is one big tree. And we were talking earlier about the scope of things in the cosmos. But it's become more clear now that the tree of life is one tree, and I suppose one microcosm is that the tree of life is us, And the river of water of life is the current of life that flows through us, moves through us, including substance and pneumoplasm. So the tree of life encompasses the river. And as you noticed, it's described not as water itself, but water of life, again relating to the current. I think I'll read just a few more words from Revelation and then close it that way, because the words are beautiful, the word is beautiful, truth is beautiful. And so again, this is John and what the angel showed him. Speaking about that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God, not up in the sky, having the glory of God, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal. He went on to speak about a wall great and high and had 12 gates. And at the gates, 12 angels. Here's the 12 again, which I mentioned earlier. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every several gate was one pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon, to shine in it, for the glory of God did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the glory and honor of the nations into it. So thank you for listening. I enjoyed meditating on these things and being able to share them with you. And perhaps you found that some has related to your own experience, whatever I spoke of. And so now, if you would like to say anything about these things or about your experience, even if it's different, I invite you to do it now.
Bless you,
Really,
Stewart. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Gary.
Bless you, Stewart. What an expansive vision. What a wondrous thing you've shared with us today. Beyond the words, it was the experience of that river flowing mightily through us, touching whatever it would. Thank you so much for what you've offered. It's been enjoyable and enlightening. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
So I really appreciate your large view, but bringing it really down to an earthly level that we all can relate to, especially your cat story. I think we can relate to that with a smile. But reading and from Book of Revelations, there was pure magic. And our time has been with that surrounding us. And to feel that and to acknowledge that, to know that is a treasure indeed. That's treasure in heaven.
Thanks, Steve.
Stewart, I'm struck with the beauty of your gentle expression. And it relates for me with the word the Lamb, the authority of the throne and the Lamb. And your gentle interchange with the cat was a perfect example of that. Quite spontaneous, quite of the present moment, and unhindered by the past experience, say, of attunement, or how other people might have experienced that or shown its beauty. I too, as Steve said, loved the way you brought a human focus to this vast current that we're all sharing. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Soma.
Yes, Stewart, I appreciated you brought the question. What is food anyway? And you took us from the great reaches of the cosmos all the way down to the most gentle interaction between yourself and that kitty. And aren't they both encompassed within what we might think of as the sustenance of life? It's what brings all of our life to focus into all the extraordinary reaches of what we share our tuning radiation with. And I really appreciate taking this ride with you through the entire encompassment of what we're here to do, and mentioning that in the midst of this, it is a joy, and that is the whole connection for us with where we're headed in all of this work. Is it play? Just plain being? And I think you touched very lightly on every aspect. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert.
I also appreciated your expression, Stuart. So many points that we could actually develop here. I liked what you said about not having to take everything, not having to understand everything mentally. That I think it's a human habit that we love to get a hold of something and, try and fit it into our own concepts. I was thinking of what you were saying about what makes radiance radiant. And the words that came to my mind was authenticity is what makes radiance radiant, especially when we're speaking of the truth of love. Because that is the tone is radiant. And I loved what you were bringing about how the wilderness blossoms like a rose. And, just thinking of the beauty of that picture, a rose is in a garden. It has a beautiful perfume. It's just walking past a garden that is abloom with flowers. You can feel the body relax and joy is known. I don't think you can be in a garden and not experience joy, And to me, this is what we have to share with one another, is the joy of being in this garden. And that, as you said, is an aspect of ascension. In the simple moments of our living, we can experience the Garden of Eden. And going on to what you were talking about in the book of Revelation, part of what you were reading, part of that passage was the bride being adorned for her husband. And these are some of my most favorite words in the book of Revelation, because that is what the body of humanity is designed to be, that bride adorned for her husband. Can you imagine the beauty of presenting ourselves to the Lord, decked out in our very finest, offering our very, very finest to the Lord in all our moments, crystal clear, exquisitely yielded. That is Ascension. And that is the oneness of heaven and earth. And that is the joy of our being together to provide that in unison. So I am so grateful for all the starting points you've given us today, Stewart. Thank you.
Thank you, Millicent.
I agree completely. There is a difference between describing the garden and ascension. That's what the mind does, but the heart lives it. And Stewart, you brought to us today, because of your own living, I'm sure, the beauty of living together in the garden. As Millie said, when we're together, that's what happens. It's very tangible. We are privileged to do this together. We don't just think about it, we are it. And therein lies all good things and salvation. I really appreciate what you've done today, Stewart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura.
Stewart, I would just like to say, let me see if I can get a different view of you here. Hang on. Oh, good. Okay. I would just like to express also, along with everyone else, my deep appreciation for what you have shared with us today, because I just am so filled with joy at your beautiful priestly creativity, your creative thinking, your questioning certain things and looking for answers. And you're just standing in the midst of that river, if you will. And it has been so evident this morning. It's most beautiful. And I'm reminded, you mentioned several times, and a few others have mentioned about the garden. And some of you have heard me talk in the past about this little garden that I did in the back of my house this summer. I made it. It has a rock garden in it, symbolizing the river of life, and it has flowers around it and various things symbolizing that which is growing in the garden. And it has chimes signifying the tone. And I had an interesting experience the other day in relationship to this. This is deer hunting season here in North Georgia. And we occasionally get deer out in the backyard that come back and forth because there's woods on both sides of us. But lately we've had these two deer come every evening around dinner time, a mama and her little fawn. And they come right up by the dining room and they come back every evening. It's quite strange and very unusual. Well, the other day when we came home, and we were sitting out on the back patio, which is screened in. Mama and her little fawn came up again in the back, and the fawn decided it was going to come in through the little rock garden that is right up against our back patio. And the fawn actually decided, I guess he was tired, and he laid down in the middle of it and laid down. I wish I could show you the picture of it, the pictures I have, and decided to take a little nap. And we were sitting right there. And it was such a miracle because he decided that it was a safe place for him to be. Now, this might not sound like much, but deer don't do that. This is not the behavior of deer. They run from everything. They're very skittish. They don't let people get near them, you know. And this little precious little thing just decided there's no hunters around here. This is a safe space for me, and I can just lay down and relax and take a little nap in the garden. And I just bring this out because this to me is an example how, as we stand in the river, who we are, and the tree of life blossoming on either side, we see the world change. We say, how is this world going to change? It's a mess. Well, just by our radiance and our collective radiance together, the world changes. Here's symbolized by this little fawn, this little deer. It sounds like nothing, but it was a miracle to me because this just doesn't happen. And yet how easily things change. It doesn't have to be some big, horrible, dramatic thing. It's with grace. And here it is, the world changes, and we see that so much. So I thank you so much this morning for focusing our collective radiance today and your very, very creative thinking. So thank you, Stewart.
Thank you, Maureen.
Stewart, it does come with grace and with serenity. And that is a quality that I always experience moving through a garden. Just the serene presence of life. And it's a sure thing. So with it comes an assurance. And as we abide where we are meant to be, we move with this serenity and grace and assurance with an untroubled heart and mind. And to be all together in this is such a privilege. It's such joy has been mentioned, but also just a sense of fulfillment in coming into our full purpose in being here, now, together on earth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deborah.
Stewart, you mentioned, as many have, the flow. Your rondas specifically brought to remembrance in your rondas words of the ongoing flow of the river of life, that it's constantly there moment by moment for us. And what is stirred in me is the need for emotional discipline to stay oriented in that and not be distracted in what's going on round about. because I think of this often, and in this last week, it's interesting. I've been constantly thinking of having awareness of this flow, but also, as I say, the need to not be distracted. There's a million distractions out there. And at this time of year, approaching the holiday season in the Christian world anyway, in the Western Hemisphere, there's even more good distractions that can be present. But to maintain that centering in the flow and not to allow my heart to go out of that, to stay in that place. It's a simple thing, but it really takes, it's not necessarily easy. It really takes some specific love and orientation. And in a way, it's a mark of my love, of my, here I think passion kicks in. With great passion, I can allow that orientation to be sustained. And I thank you for that reminder. From the galactic flow to the minute flow, you really encompassed that, and I appreciate it.
Thanks, Urban.
Good. This sensing of your deep love of the sacred. And you have levity, but my goodness, something changed when you brought us to Yorunda, when you went into revelation, into the deep sacred. And that's where I felt a whole different dimension in you, through you, about you. And I wanted to acknowledge the deep passion for the sacred, which I think we all share and which you exemplified. Thank you for this.
Thank you, Davina.
Thank you, Davina and others, and Stewart. Ascension, serenity, the garden and the city of God. Lately, I've been going at dusk, at the time of sunset, almost every day to a nearby large lake that's deserted, and have been biking and walking the shoreline of this lake. And from a distance, you can see the peaks of the Rocky Mountains. And at dusk, it is really beautiful. And I go there for communion, and did so last night, and saw the new moon that you mentioned, Stewart. The sky was orange and purple. And as I biked and then stopped and walked along the shore, seeing this beautiful purple sky and the new moon, I was immediately in the spirit and in a time and place that is here and now and not here and now. When is this? Where is this? Transported into the atmosphere of highest being, the garden, the city of God. And in this place, I commune with some of you, with people, and offer the radiation that you spoke of, being in God, being in the city of God, and letting power, love, forgiveness flow and in the world, but in the vastness of the cosmos that we are a part of, and letting the flow of that cosmos come into my consciousness and into the world. I very so much appreciated this time of dwelling in Ascension and dwelling in the city of God for an hour of a week, but we may do so in the various hours of our week. And I'm glad to share this moment of my experience from last night of being in heaven with all of you on earth. Thank you, Stewart.
Thank you, Eugen.
Yes, thank you, Eugen. And Stewart, and everybody who spoke in the spirit in between. I could feel pattern of pressure building in my chest, in my heart, from the moment you started speaking, Stewart, and continuing right through to Eugen's words. I'm glad you mentioned the expansion, the transformation of the heart realm that is underway in an intensified manner. It might relate in a very specific way because of a change that's occurring, I'm sure, for many, many of us, far beyond this small grouping. Change that's happening in the mind. The mind of each of us as individuals, the conscious mind, is going through an ascension process from being embedded in the earth and the things of the earth to become the light bearer. That is a reliable presence representing the spirit and providing a beautiful complement of trustworthy, secure interplay with the heart. So this ascension process is affecting our minds and drawing them up into the higher vibratory ranges, and guidance of the spirit is transforming the heart in a beautiful, expansive way so that we can be prepared and poised to handle what's coming, perhaps suggested by what you referred to as Pluto in Aquarius. This transformation point that is being suggested by that imagery from Mazzaroth and astrology. Great changes imminent in the outer world, in our own outer capacities, so that the 12 manner of fruits and the 12 gates and the 12 pearls in the holy city are in place. This is the design of being. This is us and others coming into formation to be a living city, a living body, each with each one playing their part in a living design. So this pressure and this intensification in the heart and the lifting up of the mind and the movement in the ascending currents to receive the spirit that brings these most essential transformations in our outer capacities and also the world body itself. This is something that we obviously must be prepared for. And so what you brought us, in particular, the tone of the beautiful reading from Revelation at the end, gave lots of space for this new substance to begin to form. And it was most precious and deeply felt in the heart and appreciated very much, Stewart. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you, David. I have a final piece to play unless anyone else has anything they'd like to say. And David, you just mentioned Mazzaroth, which reminded me, I believe, of the book of Job. And we know we're a part of something vast, something very large, a beautiful process, peaceful process, but we're here to do something very specific. And I think that relates to the verse, "Canst thou bind the sweet influences of Pleiades, and canst thou loose the bands of Orion?" To bring the creative process to focus here where we are in this moment, in every day. So I want to thank each of you for speaking. Thank you very much. I spoke of food. You nourish me with your word, your words, your substance. And I honor and love your magic, the magic of your words and the word in your living. To close, there's a song from the 1500s composed by Thomas Tallis using verses from the Gospel of John that Jesus spoke to his disciples using many of these words. And I'm reading them because in the way the song is performed with the different voices, it can be hard to make out a few of the words. But here are the verses in the Bible. "If ye love me, keep my commandments, and I will pray the Father, and he shall give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever, even the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it seeth him not, neither knoweth him. But ye know him, for he dwelleth with you and shall be in you." And I just wanted to mention that we know the Comforter has been associated with an individual, but I saw that Martin said in a service in 1981 He said, the coming of the Comforter is not something separate from human beings. If there is a Comforter available, it is because there is yielded human flesh to let it be so. We are to extend that comfort to those who are potential awakeners. We are stewards, caretakers, comforters. It could be said we have a number of roles in that sense, and we know very well that we are capable of handling these roles. So, yeah, thanks for being with us. It's been a joy to be with you, and here is the choral piece.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Stewart. Thank you.